Good morning. We're here to talk about George Smith, our 14-year-old seventh grader. George was evaluated April of 2020, and these are the results from his assessments. Let's talk about these. The first one we're going to talk about is the Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Children. And this test measures a student's intellectual ability in his 5 cognitive domains that influence performance. It's used for students that are grades K through 12. So the first cognitive domain is verbal comprehension, and he scored an 83. This put him in the low percentile average. His next area is visual spatial index, and his score was an 85, and this puts him in the percentile of low average. The next is fluid reasoning index, and he scored a 91. So in this area, he's in the percentile of average at his grade level. And the next to the last is working memory index, and this score was 87, and this was low average percentile. The next assessment we're going to talk about is the Kaufman Test of Educational Achievement. This is used in all school-aged assessments, and it is an evaluation of key reading, mathematics, written language, and oral language skills. So let's take a look. The first area is word recognition, and his score is a 68, and that's in the percentile of very low. The next is word decoding. His score is a 68, and it is also very low percentile. The next is written expression. His score is 64, and it is also in the very low percentile. Reading comprehension is next, and he scored a 67. This is in the very low percentile. Next is spelling, and his score is a 68, very low percentile. Word recognition fluency, he scored a 77, and this is below average, but it's not it's not in very low, so it's a higher percentile. The last is math concepts and application, and his score is an 84, and that's below average, but it's a little higher in percentile. Next, we have math computation, and this score was 76, and this is within the low average percentile. And the last is orthographic processing composite, and this score is 83, and this is below average percentile. That last one is having to do with math and graphics and more of like a geometry. And so whenever we take a look at those examinations, we see George is having some needs in writing and in reading and in math for some of his deficit goals to be created. George was also given the comprehensive test of phonological processing. This assessment takes a measurement of phonological awareness and phonological memory and naming. Phonological is the sound attached to letters and how they're combined to create words. This assessment is used to identify deficits in phonological skills ages 4 through 24. George's results show unmastered phonological awareness skills, and this test sheds light on his difficulty in demonstrating ability to manipulate sounds within words. This assessment suggests that George has underlying phonological versus orthographic deficits, the ability to put sounds together. And so using this data given, we also have some other data that we took, the behavior assessment system, and this showed that evidence was provided to show that George displayed difficulty in maintaining self-control and difficulty regulating impulsive behaviors. However, he does not display significant maladaptive and or rule-breaking tendencies at home or in school. And so this assessment was just giving us a couple strategies and goals to help him in the classroom to regulate his frustration, maybe his sometimes shutting down when he gets frustrated or unsure, and so that guides that decision making with his assessment goals. And let's look at what's next. So let's take a look at George's MAP testing. MAP testing is the measure of academic progress, and we give that to students grades 2 through 12, and we give it to them twice a year. George's MAP testing growth data shows that he is still underperforming in correlation to his peers. He is in the 21st percentile, but he is showing growth. His score places him like I said, in the 21st percentile for math and the 13th percentile for reading. And the last year, he has grown 10 points in math and 7 points in reading. So we are seeing growth. So the goals and the strategies we are using are showing a development and progress. And we're really proud of George for his hard work. George receives informal assessments throughout his day, and informal just means things like exit slips. It's a lot of what a lot of his classroom teachers use, but it can be things such as small quizzes, verbal conversation. They're given in the form, like I said, the exit slip. And that just means at the end of the classroom, the teacher might hand out a slip of paper, and it has 1 or 2 questions, maybe saying something to the way of what is something that you learned, what is something you don't understand, or tell me the name of the main character in the story if you're in literacy. Or it could be something as simple as give me a thumbs up if you understood it, give me a thumb to the side if you're not sure, and give me a thumbs down if you don't understand it at all. And that gives the teacher the knowledge that he or she needs to readdress maybe some of the lessons that were not understood by any of the students. And so a lot of his teachers use that. So with all of these assessments reveal that George is identified as a student with other health impairments. OHI is what that stands for. George has a diagnosis of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. He is served in the areas that the assessments have shown his deficits in. These are math reasoning, basic reading, reading comprehension, adaptive behavior, and written expression. George also shows characteristics of dyslexia. And so with these deficits, they affect his ability to participate in the general education curriculum and requires the modification and adaptations of multisensory approach to learning, repeated instruction, more individualized attention, and reading text at his grade level. And so we're really proud of where George is at. This is the assessments that we have done this April 2020, and that is the breakdown of how it correlates with George's goals and with his classroom participation and in the general education curriculum. Thanks.